to teach men or women how to make the minor adjustments is dedicated to preventing and reducing crime. Our primary purpose is to teach men or women how to make the minor adjustments that are necessary in their lives, which will allow them to obtain and maintain a productive lifestyle after incarceration and or rehabilitation. Our motto is anywhere but backwards. Everybody say anywhere but backwards. The words in that mission statement, it says to obtain, and the other one is maintain. Listen to me. To obtain means to come into the possession of something. Maintain means to keep it in existence. Listen, the reason why I say that, everybody say to obtain my sobriety is easy. Our challenge is to maintain it. Say to obtain our sobriety is easy. Our challenge is to maintain.
To obtain our sobriety is easy. Our challenge is to maintain it. As always, welcome everybody to the Minor Adjustments virtual lesson. My name is Michael Mickey Williams Jr. And we're going to be going into another section of the Minor Adjustment Workbook. As everybody is tuning in, I will put the link to the Minor Adjustments page if anybody would like to get the Minor Adjustments Workbook that we're going over. I will put the link to that in there for you guys. And is there anything else? Also, I want you to check out the Minor Adjustments website. I'll also put the link to that in there for you. So you can also have that. We got a host of different things on there that can help you in your process of recovery and criminal lifestyles. All right. So that's that. We got those looking good. Let me make sure that my sound and everything is good. Again, Minor Adjustments is dedicated to preventing and reducing crime. And our primary purpose is to teach men and women how to make the minor adjustments that are necessary for their lives, which will allow them to obtain and maintain a productive lifestyle after incarceration and or rehabilitation. Our motto is anywhere but backwards. So I hope everybody is logged in, and we're going to go into another great lesson for today, all right? So let's see what we got here. We're going to go over, let's go over, let's see, let's go over, let's see. Okay, we can go over that. All right, let's see what we got. All right, we're good. Let's go to work. So last week we was talking about, or let's put the book up. We've been looking at the different lessons from the Minor Adjustments Workbook. Let's look at our mission statement. I want to unpack that for a moment before we move any farther, which is on page 5. And it says Minor Adjustments is dedicated to preventing and reducing crime. Our primary purpose is to teach men and women how to make the minor adjustments that are necessary for their lives, which will allow them to obtain and maintain a productive lifestyle after incarceration and or rehabilitation. Our motto is anywhere but backwards. Here in the mission statement, these two words, obtain and maintain, are very important. They stick out for a reason. On page 6 of the Minor Adjustment Workbook, it says to obtain means to come into the possession of something. To maintain means to keep it in existence. All right. So when you obtain something, that means you came into the possession of it. Why is that important? Good question. I'm glad you asked. Because when I obtained my sobriety in August 2009, I did not have to go get my sobriety in August 2010. I simply had to find the relapse prevention skills, the cope with skills, to build up my spiritual development, or whatever was needed for me to maintain that sobriety that I have obtained in August 2009. This is very important because a lot of individuals spend a lot of their time trying to obtain something that they already have. So you no longer have to spend all of your time trying to get your sobriety once you have obtained it. Now we need to focus on what minor adjustments do we need to make in order for us to maintain this for the rest of our lives on this side of glory. I hope you understand that right there. So let's see. So right now, we're going to go to another part of the particular workbook. And in this particular part, we're going to go to, I want to say we want to go to, let's do surrender. Surrender, all right? Let's do, yeah, we did purpose last week. So we're going to start here. Let's do surrender. So each group, I always have an expectation for the particular group that I am doing. My expectation for this particular group is everyone will realize that they can't change the system. Woo! Everyone will realize that they can't change the system. I'll explain that in a minute. So we're going to look at the word surrender, which is the key to the victory. When two armies are at war and one of the armies wants to give up because they realize that they are defeated, they will wave a white flag. Or when a boxer is taking the beating in the ring and the corner wants to stop the fight, they throw in the white towel. In this case, meaning your life, you are the one with the white towel or the flag in your hand. More importantly, you and only you have the power to wave it or to throw it in, which is called surrendering, which is the key to your victory. Now, it's very important because a lot of times people look at surrender. We'll look at it a little bit more in depth later. But a lot of times when we think about surrendering something, one of the things that we hold on to is because we have one lifestyle that we have been accustomed to living, and now we're trying to live a different lifestyle. Again, when I talked about for the 22 years of me struggling with the crack cocaine and the heroin and all the criminal lifestyle, up until that point, that was the lifestyle that I knew. From the age of 16 to the age of 38, that was the only lifestyle I knew. So trying to live a different lifestyle or trying to surrender one lifestyle for another lifestyle was a difficult situation. Now, remember, my expectation for this group was everyone will realize that they can't change the system. Let me explain. If you try to purchase something online and you punch in your information, you put in your credit card or your debit card information to purchase an online order, and you check it out, you put it in the cart, you close out, you pay for it, whatever, you purchase that order. If you go back to the website and start to type in a number, right? If you go back to the website and you start to type in a number, numbers would appear in the credit card area where you punched in your information before. What's the computer is trying to do, that's called autofill. The computer is trying to predict that you're going to use the same information that you fed it before. The autofill feature is actually operating successfully or accurately when it's trying to predict what you want to put in. It's trying to give you a jump start. However, the autofill is trying to predict that you're going to use the same thing that you did before. And the reason why that's important is because you have to understand that when you come to a rehabilitation center and when you leave a rehabilitation center and you go back to home or you go back to the streets or whatever terminology you would like to use, when you go back, I call it the monster is going to try to predict that you're going to do the same thing you did before when you was out there. Meaning when you came home before, you was looking all good. You had some money saved up. You had a whole bunch of clothes that you stole out of the warehouse. Nah, I'm just joking. But you got a whole lot of stuff that, you accumulated. Now you're looking good. And what the streets is going to try to predict, like that computer autofill, is that you're going to do the same thing that you did before. Now listen to me. In the computer sense, when you're punching in that credit card and it's trying to predict that you're going to use the same card you used before, it's the only way you're going to erase it is by you putting in a new card manually. Now, don't get too spooked out about this, but there's also a thing called cookies, but I don't want to get very technical in the terms of the computer. But if you want to put in your information manually, that will erase the autofill from putting in the information you put before. But watch this, the autofill is the system. You can't change the system. The autofill is going to always try to predict that you want to put in the same information that you had before. This is why I had my expectation as everyone will realize that they can't change the system. The system of addiction is simple. If you don't pick up, you can't get high. That's the system. You can't change the system. When we keep trying to change the system, we think, well, I used to do heroin and cocaine, so I'm going to do alcohol and marijuana now. No, stop trying to change the system. The system is what the system is. If you pick up, right, it's going to lead to what you normally do. So you got to stop trying to change the system. You got to understand, it's impossible for you to relapse if you don't pick it up. It's impossible. There's no way you can possibly go back to what you used to do. Remember, our motto is anywhere but backwards. Actually, let me put the lesson here, and y'all know my motto is anywhere but backwards. So we can't keep trying to change the system. So a lot of the things that when I say you can change the system, far as your lifestyle, you can change that. But far as the principles and things that are attached to the criminal lifestyle, that's a good, Lord, thank you. The criminal lifestyle that's attached to our addiction will never change. When we start to use our substance or alcohol or pills or whatever we used to do, criminal behavior will always be attached to it. That's part of the system. You can't change that system because eventually you're going to find yourself in a place where you don't have finances and you're still going to want to try to go get the substance that you are accustomed to doing. And because you want to go get the substance, you are willing to commit all types of crime and to try to get these particular substances, right? I know I ain't talking about my own self. I'm talking about a lot of you too that's tuned in. But in order for you to change that system, you got to remove yourself from the system. Woo-wee. All right. Let's see what we got here. So the word surrender means to give up, right? To abandon, relinquish, or just to let go. So who or what has prevented you from surrendering? Who or what has prevented you from surrendering? And the reason why I know that something has prevented you from surrendering is because at this particular stage in your life, if you're still doing a rehabilitation program or you keep going back over the things over and over again, it just proof that you haven't been willing to surrender. Now you need to find out who's preventing me from surrendering, or what's preventing me from surrender. Now, right here on my book, it says God is trying to take this life away from you, and you are fighting him to keep it. So you see on the screen where it says a tug of war. You're in a tug of war trying to hold on to a bad lifestyle when God is trying to pull you to a better lifestyle. But in order for him to pull you into that better lifestyle, watch this word, you got to let go of your past lifestyle. You have to what's called surrender. Just surrender. That's the key to the victory. I can't tell you a concrete reason why I will always hold on to my past lifestyle when I knew that I could possibly do something better. Now, this is even with me before I had a personal relationship with God and my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. This is before I even had that. I always was gifted or skilled or push myself or challenge myself to do something, right? I could teach myself how to do things. It was all a gift from God. I'm just saying that before I even knew all of that, I still always had the tenacity to try to do something different. I was always like, yeah, I'm going to try this. I'm going to see if I can do this. And I would learn it. And, I would learn how to do different things, right? But even in that sense, I still didn't want to surrender my old lifestyle for a better lifestyle in that sense, because I just thought I would be losing something by giving up something that I have been doing since I was 16 years old to the age of 38. So who or what has prevented you from surrendering? So right now, if you have the book right now in front of you, or you have, I'll put a link to a PDF copy in the comment section for those who would like to have a PDF ebook copy of it, right? Right here in this section, you need to write that down or document it. Who's preventing me, or what's preventing me from surrendering my past lifestyle when I know I can go on to something better? But something is preventing you, and you need to find out what that is. The next bullet we got right here, it says, what do you think about a person who gives up? Because sometimes we have this bad taste in our mouths. How you doing, Miss Lorna? Sometimes we have this bad taste in our mouth because we think that a person that surrendered or gives up is a weak individual, but that's not actually true. A person who's willing to surrender and give up a bad lifestyle, bad behavior, bad decisions for something better is actually a strong individual, because it's easy to continue to do wrong. Realistically, it's a lot easier for us to continue to do that. But what do you think about a person who surrender or gives up? Let's see what we got here. Next, what's the hardest area? Woo-wee! What's the hardest area for you to surrender or to change? Think about that. Remember, what's the hardest area for you to surrender or change? See, a lot of times we have a lot of different things, and it's a hard area. Certain areas are really hard for us to surrender or for us to change, and we have to find that out. The reason why I put this in the book is because I want individuals to find out. So when you put it down, you can't change. Thank you, Lord. You can't change something that you won't admit is a problem. You cannot. I repeat, you cannot change something, address something, or make adjustments to something that you do not admit that is a problem. All right. Yeah, that's good stuff. All right, let's see what we got next. Oh, no, let me read this right here. This says, in my book, it says, change must be structured. Old patterns get reinforced unless a new discipline is introduced to override the old pattern. Let me break this down and give you a very clear understanding of this. Change must be structured. And the reason why is because we normally function off of old patterns. We're doing things that we used to do, right? So our brain and everything is functioning off of our old patterns. Now, the way to get the old patterns out of our brain function is we have to introduce our brain to a new discipline. When we introduce our brains to a new discipline, it overrides the old pattern. Good God Almighty, I'm helping my own self. Listen to me. I feed myself the Bible or scriptures, right? So my brain, before I was feeding myself scriptures and relapse prevention skills, coping skills, motivational things, before I was feeding myself that, my brain was functioning off my old pattern. But the more I start to feed my brain a new discipline, a daily devotions, prayer, meditation, positive affirmations, all these things I do to myself all throughout the course of the day. No lie, I'm not playing, right? I talk to myself that way, right? But when I do that, I'm also forcing out the old patterns that I had in my brain. So once I force the old patterns out, I'm now reinforcing or introducing my brain to a new discipline. Oh man, I'm telling you some good stuff here, man. Listen, I won't even charge you for that. That was free. Listen, you have to feed your brain new information. When you feed your brain new information, it will override the old patterns. Right now, up until this point, most of us have been functioning off of our old patterns. And we have to understand, we have to give ourselves a new discipline. Let me read it one more time, okay? Listen. Change must be, let me back up. What's the hardest area for you to change? Now, Change must be structured. Old patterns get reinforced unless a new discipline is introduced to override the old pattern. That simply means if you do not introduce your brain to a new discipline, then your old patterns are going to get reinforced, meaning they're going to become stronger, 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 stronger. And then your actions are going to match those old patterns that have been reinforced in your brain. That's why change must be structured. You have to be intentional. You have to be intentional to feed your brain new information. This is not something that's optionable, something that individuals can possibly do. This is something that everybody who comes from a substance issue or criminal lifestyle background or any type of struggle or any type of thing that's negative in their lives, this has to be done. You have to override the old patterns, or our brain will function, like I said on the first page, autofill. It will just function on autopilot. So a lot of times you ever listen, I know I ain't the only person this happens to. You ever goes down a road or get somewhere, you be like, how I go this way? Right? You're like, I didn't even intentionally try to go this way. But since your brain is on autopilot, you literally drove that way. And I hope you use turned your blinker on, like my brother Frank used to say. Make sure you use your blinker. And sometimes when you function on old patterns, you go down paths and you like, how did I go this way? I didn't even want to go this way. That's because your brain is on autopilot. Oh man, I'm telling you some stuff for real. All right, let's see. We got a question here. What'd you say? She said, hardest area can be my social habits. Oh, okay. Yeah, everybody got different hard areas that they have to overcome. That's good. Yeah, autopilot. That's right. Amen. Let's see. All right. Have you ever thought about surrendering? Some of the times when we think about surrendering, we think about we're going to lose something. But when you surrender things, you are saying that this is something that I probably enjoyed. A lot of times individuals be shocked when I tell them that when they were struggling with whatever drug they were struggling with, and I said, you enjoyed it. And they be like, what do you mean? I said, the only reason you continue to do it is because you actually enjoyed it. You don't do something that you didn't enjoy. Although we know it's wrong and it's bad, you literally were enjoying it at that particular time that you continue to do it. So it's hard for you to think about surrendering it, because something that my mentor told me, that's me taking your best friend from you, telling me to surrender my best friend, give up my best friend. This is the person I've been dealing with for all these years. I've been doing this for all this amount of time, and you want me to just give up my best friend? That's exactly how the situation is when you're talking about surrender. But have you ever thought about it? Because you have to think about it, because in order for one of the hardest things I had to convince myself is that I can't do nothing. And when I say that, I'm talking about, I never really was a drinker anyway. I never really like alcohol and all this stuff. I never really drunk. And I never really liked smoking marijuana, because marijuana, get this is weird as it sounds, marijuana made me paranoid. So now, when all these people now are drinking and smoking that, but I never really was on it. And although people couldn't understand that, because they say, hold on, you was able to smoke crack cocaine and wasn't paranoid, but you smoke marijuana and you become paranoid. Now that I have the knowledge that I have of where I was headed, so it makes sense for me now that I didn't enjoy that then, is because God already knew that was going to be something that would be at the forefront of our world today. And I never really liked it when I was doing it back in the day. I know y'all understand that, but I truly understand that God already knew that would be something that's at the forefront of our society now. And I don't even like it at all. Never did. But when you thought about, or when you think about surrendering something, right? It's hard for us to surrender something that we enjoy doing. So you got to think about that. All right. It's important that you try to think about. Next, let's look at this next one here. Does a part of you want to truly surrender? This is a solution. The solution begins with the paradox. Victory is achievable through surrender, not battle. Now, you can get victory because a lot of times what we try to do When I say we, I'm talking about those who struggle with a substance use disorder or stronghold or whatever terminology you would like to want to call it. I really don't care how you frame it. I call it the monster. So everybody who struggle with something, right? The solution begins with the paradox that victory is achieved through surrender, not in battle. Because sometimes we think that we got to battle the addiction. Like, I'm going to prove to this addiction that it's not running me. You don't have to prove to it. The best thing you could do is surrender to the fact that you can't change that particular system of what it does. Whatever the addiction does to individuals, it's still bad. It's still going to turn out worse. It's not going to get better. It's going to always be that way. So you don't have to battle it. You don't have to battle the addiction. You need to surrender and say, you know, the addiction can try to have its course, but it won't include you. It won't include you. So when you thinking about it from a addictive perspective, right? A lot of times people try to battle it. Like, I'm going to prove to it that I can do this on the weekend and not become an addiction. But I'm here to tell you that that strategy won't work. If you do it one day, eventually it's going to turn into 2. If you do it 2, it's going to turn into 4, and so on and so on and so on. So the solution begins with the paradox. Victory is achieved through surrender, not battle. Once I got to the knowledge of the truth that I don't have to battle my addiction, I need to surrender to the fact that I am not capable of doing it and being successful in my life, in any area of my life. Once I was able to surrender to that fact, I won the battle, but I didn't win the battle by trying to prove to the addiction that I can do it Monday and don't do it the rest of the week. So a lot of times people try to battle the addiction, and that is by far the worst strategy you can ever try. Because if you're being honest, you say, well, I'm only going to do 1, but you haven't done 1 since 1971. So how you going to do 1 now? So the strategy don't work. When I talk to a lot of different clients, and because I'm a certified drug and alcohol counselor and a peer recovery coach, when I'm talking to my clients and they talking to me like that, like, yeah, I thought I was just going to be able to, do it on the weekend and all the week when I was working. And I'm like, I don't know why you thought that at all. That strategy, that strategy won't work for nobody. Trust me. Right? So you got to understand that. Let's see. Thanks a lot. Thanks. I didn't know. All right, listen. So many people I encounter each day struggle with the idea of surrendering. It is almost as if we have developed barriers around our hearts that keep the world at an emotional distance. Recognizing those stubborn obstacles that stand in your way signifies the first step towards a strong faith that you can indeed surrender. One of the key obstacles to surrendering is pride. One of the key obstacles to surrender is pride. We may not all admit this, but all of us have this in abundance. However, there is a good news. It is a known cure called humility. Without a doubt, it will take a humble person to surrender one bad lifestyle for a better lifestyle. Now, a lot of times when individuals, no matter who they are, right? When you talk to an individual about surrendering one bad lifestyle for another lifestyle, they will give you a list of reasons why they don't want to do it. But it boils down to this one word, pride. especially if you're somebody trying to tell them to change something and they like, you're not going to tell me what to do. I know how to do what I'm doing, all that, right? That's literally pride. But humility will always counteract pride. When we humbled ourselves and listened to individuals who have been successful in the area that we're trying to be successful in, then that will only come by humility. I could never get to the place where God is taking me now, thus far, or where he has taken me thus far, without humbling myself and saying, I got to listen to somebody else teach me about certain things. So I'm a good student before I am a good teacher. I learn easy. I thank God who given me the ability to be able to learn. I can learn by reading books. I can learn by watching videos. I can learn by doing it myself hands-on. All those ways are going to be able to help you and I when we humble ourselves and stop letting it be a pride thing about us surrendering one bad lifestyle for another. So I want to read this again. Recognizing those stubborn obstacles that stand in your way signifies the first step towards a strong faith that you can surrender. So whatever's stopping you or preventing you from surrendering a bad lifestyle or a habit you used to do or things that you used to do that's not beneficial to your life, you have to recognize those obstacles. Whatever those obstacles are, you can always group those obstacles and put them right under the word pride. Whatever the obstacles are, I guarantee you pride is somewhere in there, because when we thinking about at this bottom part of this paragraph where it says, without a doubt, it will take a humble person to surrender one bad lifestyle for a better lifestyle. You got a better lifestyle or bad lifestyle here. You got the opportunity to live a better lifestyle here. And no matter how many people I grew up with, or no matter how many people I could talk to throughout the course of the day, virtually, on phone, or through text, or no matter what, right? No matter how many times, I always tell them it's always more. It's a better life, that you can have a better life. Now, I can tell them that, and I can demonstrate it to them, and I can allow them to see me. That's one of the main reasons I like to use social media, actually, to let people see the individual that who I am now versus who I used to be. And when they see that, it's supposed to instill hope to them, to give them at least the idea that it's possible. It's possible for me to have a better lifestyle than the life that I have now. It says, now what I will and not what I desire, but as you will and as you desire. So that was literally Jesus saying to his Father, not what I want, but whatever you want. So if God wants to give you a better lifestyle, why prevent him from giving you a better lifestyle? In order for you to actually take hold of the better lifestyle, you're going to have to surrender the bad lifestyle. He cannot take you to the next level until you relinquish the level that you once stay attached to. Oh, I'm talking to myself. I know that ain't just for you. All right. Yeah, you could definitely have, what you say, emotional obstacles. All those are great. That's right. You can have emotional can be an obstacle. Yeah, your emotions definitely can. Your emotions can definitely be obstacles, because when you make, I often say that to my wife, I don't like to make, or I try not to make emotional decisions. When something happens and you just automatically react without pausing, praying, or sometimes just go to sleep and wake up tomorrow, right? You don't want to make emotional decisions, because emotional decisions can actually come back and haunt you and benefit a person that probably did something to you. Woo, woo, wee. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay, next it says, the greatness of a man's power. I got this right here. I gotta grab it. The greatness of a man's power is in the measure of his surrender. That's by the General William Booth. And I got a General William Booth right here that I got from Major Piers. He gave me this one time when I went to the Salvation Army to speak, and I keep it handy. And this is, the General is the founder of the Salvation Army. And he says the greatness of a man's power is in the measure of their surrender. What that means is, if you want to know how powerful a man or a woman is, tell me what they're willing to surrender. Because in order for God to take you to the next stage, you got to be willing to surrender some stuff. So the greatness, the General William Booth of the Salvation Army founder, he says, the greatness of a man's power is in the measure of his surrender. I love that. When I read that, and I had to put it in my book. That's why I put it in here, because I said, wow. Because a lot of times people see great people, great men and great women, and they probably see where they are, but they never see what they were willing to surrender. Because a lot of times, I guarantee you this, when God is about to call you to do something else, he's going to also equally tell you to surrender something. Because sometimes we can get accustomed to doing things our way. In order for us to go to the next level, there's going to have to be some things called sacrifices. And that means you're going to have to surrender some things that you enjoy doing. Now, this is not all positive. This is not all negative. I mean, it could be positive things, but you just might have to surrender it. Is because the time that you put into doing the positive things might be needed to do something else that he has called you to do. So the greatness of your power is in the measure of your surrender. What are you willing to surrender? I'm telling you that you can have a better lifestyle by making some minor adjustments and not going anywhere but backwards. However, you got to surrender some things, and most of the things that we try to attach to, try to keep, is associated with us being prideful. We may not all admit this, but we got that in abundance. I'm telling you, we got that in abundance. I'm telling you, all right? I want to go over, let's see. Surrender sounds like sacrifice. I just was saying that. That's right. I just said you got to make sacrifices. That's exactly what surrender is. Sacrifices. Now let's look at all right. I'm gonna end right here. Let me see. Yeah, I'm gonna stop right here. I'm gonna do these right here. These are Enemies of Your Sobriety by Delbert Boone. Great man of God. Great books he writes. You look him up. Delbert Boone. So I'm going to give you, he has 8 enemies of your sobriety. These 8 things, whenever you are, when these 8 things show up into your recovery walk, these are, listen to me, they are enemies. And I mean that because when these things show up into your particular life, when you're trying to do right, I'm trying to alert you. Watch out, Batman. Watch this. Listen, I'm trying to give you an alert because this is things that happen before you actually relapse. So the first enemy to your sobriety, watch this word, is boredom. Boredom. Whenever you feel like you just bored, right? Get out of there. That's an enemy to your sobriety. It's trying to trick you to say, man, you can be doing a whole bunch of stuff, man. You all bored. Everybody out here having fun. They ain't having no more fun than you having. When boredom starts to set in, that's the state of being weary and restless through lack of tolerance, lack of intolerance, right? Watch this. Lack of interest. Boredom is the state of being weary and restless through the lack of interest. So whenever you find yourself bored, right? That is an enemy to your sobriety. That is the enemy that's trying to get you to go backwards. Oh, I hope you got that. I hope you got it. The next one is self-pity. Self-pity means you always dwelling on one's own sorrows and misfortune. Why this always happened to me? They never picked me for this. I wanted that job. They gave him this job. They gave her that job. Self-pity. Why my family know? Why nobody know I'm going through this? Whenever you have that self-pity operating in your mind, that's an enemy to your sobriety. That is an enemy that's trying to get you, watch these words, to go backwards. Whenever boredom shows up, whenever you having a lot of self-pity, you get going over. Remember the old patterns. Whenever you having all this self-pity, you got to, now that I'm teaching you this, because I had to learn it, that's an enemy. It should alert you like, wait a minute, why I'm starting to think about, because honestly, the self-pity or dwelling on your own sorrows and misfortunes will make you miss the fact, watch this, that you're alive. Woo! Oh, man, listen. Self-pity will make you miss the fact that you are alive. And if you're like me, you know a lot of individuals who are your age or younger, and they have died. So when you go through self-pity, you should get out of there because thank God you're alive. The next one is loneliness, being without company. This is another enemy to your sobriety. Like you constantly being lonely, right? You don't want to be in the around individuals. You got to get around people. You got to network. You might don't have to hang out with them all day, but positive individuals, individuals going in the same direction you're going in. You can't find yourself being lonely, being without company, not being around people, because the people you're supposed to be around is your support network, and you got to have it. You got to be around individuals. Being without company put you in a lonely state. The next one is extreme happiness. These are all enemies to your sobriety. Extreme happiness, meaning every day you just have extreme happiness. Even when things are not going your way, you just extremely happy. These are enemies. I know this is tough because I don't want you to have low self-esteem. I want you to have high self-esteem. But to be extremely happy all the time, nah, listen to me. What I've noticed or what I have learned is sometimes that's a mask. That's a mask. Extreme happiness. It's like a front. I'm trying not to let you see that I'm actually broken or I'm actually hurting or I'm actually going through something. So you'll see people who are extremely happy all the time. I can guarantee you that I can discern that that is not actually what's going on. It's another thing that might be leading them to kind of camouflage whatever they might be going through. But whenever you find yourself where you are extremely happy, that's an enemy to your sobriety. That is an enemy to your sobriety. All right. Next, disappointment. So when you're disappointed, the state of your emotions, remember we just talked about that, or someone had a question about can emotions be part of it, right? An obstacle. Yes, the disappointment is the state of our emotion in being disappointed. So when we are disappointed about something, our emotions will make us react or cause us to make decisions that will cause us some harm. So disappointment is an enemy to your sobriety. Why is disappointment an enemy to my sobriety, Mr. Mike? It's because your disappointment plays on your emotions. And when your emotions are not in check, you make bad decisions. So you got to make sure disappointment, whenever you find something that's disappointing to you, you need to check it. I'm not saying you can't be disappointed, but if you don't check the emotion that comes behind the disappointment, it's possible you might make a bad decision, and those bad decisions might actually end up hurting you, and especially if you're not understanding what's going on with your emotions. Another one, isolation, the condition of being isolated. Like this is different from loneliness where you are being without company. Isolation is you stand away from people, right? You trying to isolate yourself. This is another telltale. This is another enemy of your sobriety. Whenever my clients are not calling me and they're not showing up to group or they're not stopping in and everything, I know that they are isolating themselves from me, right? I know that that's an enemy of their sobriety. So whenever they isolate themselves and I finally get in contact with them and they tell me about their relapse, watch this, they didn't have to tell me. Because from experience of my own personal life, whenever I isolated myself, I had already relapsed. That's why I was trying to isolate myself. So when they come to my office, I have to take a urine or whatever, but they don't really need it because I already know by they isolating themselves, they just basically told me that they had suffered the relapse, which I'm able to help them get back on track. But I'm telling you that isolation is an enemy to your sobriety. Next, tired, in need of sleep or rest, weary. So when this is a good one. When a person is always tired, that's an enemy of their sobriety. This is the type of language that comes up. If you're not balancing your rest, when you don't need to do something, just sit there. Don't do nothing. Don't try to find work to do when you don't have work to do. Don't be all tired. When you get all tired and you're sleepy and you don't have rest and you're weary, terms like this, I need something to pick me up. because you're so tired, you wore yourself out. Now you start talking about needing something to pick me up. And when you use that terminology, that's come from your old pattern, which has to be enforced. A new discipline has to be enforced to override that new pattern. Old pattern, I'm sorry. So enemies of your sobriety is tired. The last one is my favorite. You're intolerant. You can't put up with nothing. Whenever you get into a treatment facility, now you're intolerant. You can't handle the rules. You can't get up to go to work. You can't get up to go to devotions. You can't do your vestments times. You can't do all that stuff. You're intolerant. You can't get up to do it, right? But before you got into the facility, you wasn't intolerant. You was able to get up to go get the substance and alcohol and the pills and everything. You were able to get up and go get that stuff. But as soon as we get on the opposite side of on a better lifestyle, we get intolerant. Like I can't do it. I don't feel like getting up. I don't feel like doing devotions. I don't feel like doing this. I don't want to do no homework. I don't want to do minor adjustments online. We get all this stuff. We get intolerant. But I'm telling you, these are enemies to your sobriety. And I'm going to read them one more time, all the way from 1 to 8. Enemies of your sobriety is boredom, self-pity, loneliness, extreme happiness, disappointment, isolation, tired, and intolerant. All of those were enemies to your sobriety. Never, ever forget that all of this information that we are providing for you here at the Minor Adjustments Virtual online course is for you to process the information and apply it to your life. All of these lessons that we go over are strictly here to try to help you make minor adjustments. Our motto is anywhere but backwards. Today we went over surrender, which is the key to your victory. I hope y'all got some good information here. Always leave your comments, concerns, criticisms in the comment section. If you need anything, go to our website, check our email, and we have a host of things on there for you. Again, Minor Adjustments is dedicated to preventing and reducing crime. Our primary purpose is to teach men and women how to make the minor adjustments that are necessary for their lives, which will allow them to obtain and maintain a productive lifestyle after incarceration and or rehabilitation. Our motto is anywhere but backwards. Thank y'all for tuning in. We see y'all again next week. God bless you. Thank you.